Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Nahmaduhu nasalli ala rasulihil kareem. Amma ba'd. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. You can choose your friends, but you can't choose your family. You can choose your friends, but you can't choose your family. You've got a son, and he's so disobedient, and he doesn't listen to anything that you say, and you just had it up to here and you're fed up. Well, you can't have had a bigger problem than Nuh alayhi salam. Because Nuh alayhi salam's son, Canaan, was a disbeliever. And he did not believe in the message of Nuh alayhi salam. Even though what a great Rasul and Prophet Nuh alayhi salam was, with preaching for 950 years. But Nuh alayhi salam's son, he wasn't having any of it. So finally, when Allah commanded Nuh alayhi salam to board the ark, because the whole entire world was to be flooded, then at that time, Nuh alayhi salam's son was to one side, and he was like, well, no, I'll be okay, I'll climb to this mountain. And the water reached such levels that some ulama have stated that it was above the highest peak in the world at that time. And Nuh alayhi salam has said to his son, listen, no one is to be saved and no one is to attain salvation today except for those that are on the ark with me and are believers. Nuh alayhi salam's son disbelieved and he would not listen to his father's message. No one's son and no one would have a ibtala and a test more severe with regards to a son than Nuh alayhi salam. So however difficult your children might be, it can't be more severe than here. But look at the strategies, look at the psychology. Talking to his son, talking about the afterlife, talking and looking at it from his perspective, that I know you've got friends, I know you may have people that disbelieve, but this is not the right path, my son. And this strategy is what we need to involve, known as empathy or empathic role playing. So you have a problem with your child, make them in your position, put them in your position, teach them. You know, a lot of our children, they may physically look mature and older, but psychologically, they're still learning emotional intelligence, right? The prefrontal cortex of the human brain is not developed till mid-20s. So you need to put yourself in that position. And this strategy of empathic role play, you say to your son and daughter, look, if you were in my situation and you were a parent, what would you do? Let's workshop this. Let's sit there and discuss this problem that we're having, this conflict that we're having. What would you do? And workshop the problem with them. Put them in the situation that you are in so that they may be empathetic and understand. And then you actually go through the problem solving with them. That way, not only are you educating your children, but you're creating emotional intelligence and awareness in them as well. And putting them in your situation. A lot of the time, children don't understand the troubles and the tribulations that parents have to go through because of their children. So you're creating that empathic role play, similar to how Nuh alayhi salam was with his son. For the sisters out there, your husband is the worst guy. You regret marrying the guy, it was a problem, it was a mistake. You're regretting your decision, he's a terrible man, and he's just someone that you can't get along with, no matter what you do, doesn't listen, doesn't care, and you fed up. All right, fair enough. Could it be worse than Fir'aun? Could your husband be worse than Fir'aun? Because one of the best women of this ummah, Asiya radiyallahu ta'ala anha, she had the Fir'aun as her husband. The Fir'aun, and people say the Fir'aun is the worst, one of the worst disbelievers in history. He used to say, Ana Rabbukumul A'la. When people used to say, we believe in Allah, he would say, I am your greater Rabb, meaning I am A'la, I am above the Allah that you mentioned. He wouldn't say, I am God, he would say, I'm better than your Allah, I'm better than your Rabb. This is the man that Asiya radiyallahu ta'ala anha married as the queen of Egypt. And how did she deal with her husband? Worst of the human beings saying, I'm better than Allah, and that's her husband. When Musa alayhi salam was put in the basket by his mother, and then that basket miraculously in the river came up to the palace of Fir'aun, here's Asiya with her husband, and this baby comes. Now, he's a disagreeable human being, he's aggressive, he might be whatever, but what strategy did Asiya use to engage with her husband? We've got this son, why don't we adopt him? What do you think? Why don't we adopt him and take him into our care and our protection? So this is known as, and a strategy that you can use here, is that she's engaging with her husband, right? She's giving him that respect. Even though he is who he is, she's not combative, she's not argumentative, she's not denigrating him. Wherever he might be, he's still the king, he's a pharaoh of Egypt. So she's giving him that authoritative position as the king, and she's engaging with him, working collaboratively. And if you know about men, that we talked about my lecture a few weeks ago about rajula and masculinity, that men want to be leaders, right? It's innate disposition of men to be leaders. So she's very clever and intelligent using that strategy to engage with her husband, to work collaboratively, and to also engage with him for solutions to problems. Let's take Musa alayhi salam and let's adopt him into our household. Third person framing. This is called third person framing. Problem happens with your husband, too many problems, right? What do you think? What are solutions? How can I help? Let's come out to a solution together. Teamworking. Give your husband the ability to take the reins of the family and lead with example. Empower your husbands. Encourage your husbands. And then that way, you'll get the best out of them, just like Asiya used strategies to get the best out of her husband as well. Fathers, unfortunately, in our society are demonized, right? What is a father? What does it mean to be even a man? SubhanAllah, now people don't even know if they're men and women nowadays. What does it mean to be a man? Fathers are marginalized in our society, right? Talaq is now, SubhanAllah, la hawla wa la quwwata illa billah, one of the biggest problems in not just the community, but in our own families, right? Talaq and fathers being ostracized, taken away from children, prevented from even having access to their own children. Right? And fathers are marginalized now, useless. What does a man do? He's just a bank wallet, just a bank, just a wallet, right? Fathers now, and you have problem with your fathers now. Some people are distant from their fathers. Fathers are, might not be useful. But however difficult your father is, can he be as difficult as the father of Ibrahim alayhi salam? Azar. Azar was the father of Ibrahim alayhi salam, some scholars have mentioned, and he was not just a disbeliever, not just an idolater and a mushrik. His name, Azar, actually comes from someone that molds statues and molds idols. And then they would actually worship those idols that would be molded and sculpted. And his name was actually the creator of the idols who would then be worshipped. No one's father can be worse than this. But despite this, Ibrahim alayhi salam goes, as a young man, not as an older son, young man to his father, idolater, creator of idols. And he says, Ya abati, let's not worship shaitan. Let's not worship shaitan, and let's come on to the deen of Islam and so on. And he preached Islam. What response did he get from his father? Now, first thing, look at the strategy, the love, the affection. Even though this is the most offensive thing to any person who's a Muslim, especially a prophet, the love, the care, the concern, the strategy he's using is to come with a tone of not aggressiveness and combating and fighting and saying, you are not on the haqq. It's with love and I want you to be protected from shaitan. I love you, father, And how does his father respond? I'm going to stone you, I'm going to beat you, right? He threatens him with physical violence and expulsion. Be gone and stay away from me now. Go and be gone. So not only is he threatening him with violence, he's threatening him with expulsion from the home for a young man. SubhanAllah, even by today's standards, if someone was to do that to a child, you can imagine the headlines that will be in the newspapers the next day. Now, how does Ibrahim alayhi salam respond? Ya abati, oh my beloved father. This dam rabuta at the end of this little phrase is for love and affection, and for showing compassion and mercy. So even when he's being threatened with grievous bodily harm and he's being threatened with expulsion, despite this, he shows such love and respect and honor and dignity for his father. And this is the creator of idols. So this strategy is one that you can extrapolate, which is legacy, a legacy bridge, right? You have fathers or parents that are difficult to deal with. This legacy bridge is a strategy whereby you engage with them according to their expectations. Dad, you always taught me to be independent and to be a critical thinker. So that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to live up to your legacy. I'm trying to live up to your upbringing of me. You want to engage with your parents in this way, with love and affection, to try to show them that love. Because however much your parents love you, you will never love your parents as much as your parents love you. A child's love is never equivalent to the love that a parent has for his child. That's why parents have such great rights. And Ibrahim alayhi salam understands this, and he demonstrates this by reciprocating, giving a reciprocal advice and admonition to his father with that love, that mercy, and that respect for him. This might be a controversial one, I'm going to go for it. You've got a wife. No good. And I think I'll leave it there. We've got sisters listening as well. But you've got a wife and it's difficult, right? We all know what that feels like. And it's just not happening. For whatever reason, it's just the problems left, right, center, up and down. Lut alayhi salam's wife was destined to perish among the nation that he was sent that were not believers. So when Lut alayhi salam is told to leave and he is instructed to take his ahli, his family with him, But the condition of Lut alayhi salam and the people that live with him to not be destroyed with the punishment for the people of the city is don't look back. When the punishment comes, and Allah mentions this in the Qur'an with the word muttafiqat. Muttafiqat is like the raining down of stones and thunder and kind of trembling and great shaking. This is what the city was known as. So when they're going, this thunder is going to come down, but the instruction for Nuh alayhi salam and Lut alayhi salam and his followers, don't look back. Because if you look back, you're going to be afflicted with the same punishment. So he leaves with his family, and his wife comes with him as well. This is very important. She didn't disobey. She listened, but she came along. But when the thunder came, she looked back. She disobeyed. And she looked back, and when she looked back, a pelt and a stone came from the sky, and she was demolished and finished off with that as well. Even though Lut alayhi salam has got a wife that did disobey him and didn't listen to his instruction for her salvation, initially, did she refuse to go with Lut alayhi salam? She left with him, didn't she? She left with him, she obeyed him. So even for a wife that eventually didn't listen to him, there was an initial connection where she was obeying him. This is about us as men and as husbands. That be such a man with leadership that even when you have a disagreement with your wife, she still respects you. She still sees you as being worthy of leadership. She still sees you as the man that, you know what, he's still in control, he's still in charge. Now, did Lut alayhi salam go ballistic and crazy? Did he start saying, why did you do that? You must do this. He was such a man of rajula and masculinity and control that he didn't need to do that. She was still following along with him, even though she felt the need to look back at the nation and maybe even empathize with them. But he was of such a man and of such a caliber that she still, while her heart might have been disagreeing or not being completely comfortable with what she was asked to do, she still followed behind her husband. So the question you have to ask is then, how do you imbue those qualities of masculinity? Control, preservation, respect, honor, dignity, not losing not flipping a lid every time something happens, and understanding the nature of women, that they are from a rib that is bent in the body. So if you're to straighten a bent rib, what happens to it? It's going to crack. Now, that doesn't mean that there's something innately wrong with women, but what it means is you understand the people around you and what their mizaj is like, what their disposition is like, and how to treat people accordingly. And Lut alayhi salam was so masterful that even when his wife eventually disobeyed, initially, she went along with him as well. Spousal problems are probably, as I mentioned, siblings. We've got siblings rivalry, right? SubhanAllah, brothers and sisters jealous of one another. Mum, dad might treat siblings differently. So you might create and might have some sort of jealousy towards your siblings and have some sort of animosity. And we all know growing up with siblings, there's always disagreements, fights and whatnot. But has any of your siblings ever tried to kill you? Manslaughter. Threatened you and killed you and ganged up on you? Well, this is what happened to Yusuf alayhi salam, that his siblings not just were so jealous of how Yusuf alayhi salam they felt was treated by their father, even though Yaqub alayhi salam was a great prophet and did not treat Yusuf alayhi salam in that way, in a way that was unfair and unequitable. His brothers were jealous, and so jealous that they wanted to commit murder. They said, let's drop him in the well, kill him, finish him off. SubhanAllah, what kind of siblings are these? And after the greater story in the Qur'an that Allah mentions as Ahsanul Qasas, Yusuf alayhi salam is then reunited as the king of Misr at the end of that great story. And now is the time for Yusuf alayhi salam to, as the king in the presence of his brothers. And when the brothers realize, are you Yusuf alayhi salam? Are you the same brother that we left in that well to kill many years ago? La tathriba alaykum yawm. This is Yusuf alayhi salam's beautiful response. There is no blame on you today. There is no blame on you today. And inshallah, everything would have been forgiven by Yusuf. Allahu Akbar. What strategy is this? The narrative flip. Narrative flip is a strategy you can use. You got siblings and there's differences. How do we resolve this problem? You've got this opinion. Can you understand my opinion? Can you see where I'm coming from? I understand where you're coming from in this disagreement, but can you see my point of view? I know what your disagreement. You say to your siblings, I know where you're coming from. This is what you feel, isn't it? And you say and you explain it to them. Why? Because then the sibling, whether it's older or younger, will get, you know what? My brother and sister understands it. They get it. They understand where I'm coming from. And if they feel that you understand where they're coming from, then they're going to be more acquiescing and available for them to understand where you're coming from. Do you see? So you want to use that narrative flip and flip the switch on your siblings when there's a disagreement. And really the key thing, let bygones be bygones, right? They're your brothers and sisters. At the end of the day, if you're to go into hospital, God forbid, if something happens, who's going to come and visit you? Even best friends and people that you're very close with, they're going to stay there midnight. They're going to come and look after you and clean you if you're, in need of going to the toilet. Brothers, sisters, mums and dads, these are the people that are going to be there. So understand the value of your siblings. Even whatever difficulties and differences you may have, no one's going to support you in the way when push comes to shove like your siblings. So use that narrative flip, understand, and use that emotional intelligence to vibe with your siblings. And finally, marriages. Marriages are, as I said, one of the biggest things. Divorce rates are through the roof now. You know, over 80% in the last census, divorces are initiated, and this number is even growing amongst the Muslim community as well. So amongst spouses, one of the most important things is a genuine care and concern. But one strategy I want you to use and understand for your spouses is physical, non-verbal cues of affection, of connection, right? Whether it's a little hug, a little kiss, those little kind of intimate connections and non-verbal cues in the day. Not just physical touch, hugs and kisses, this shows connection. And it's a good example for children as well, that you show affection to one another, for example, for your children. But non-verbal also excludes other things as well, even if it's small gifts. I'm not encouraging and propagating buying very large, expensive gifts, but you know, tahaddu tahabu. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam has stated that, you know, when you give gifts, then this increases love. So even little gifts, doing it in front of your children, you know, it creates, you know, Subhanallah, if you have a problem with someone, you have a fight with your spouse or anybody, and then that person comes and gives you a gift, it's going to take a pretty cold-hearted, callous person to turn around and say, get out, I don't want it. You know, a gift softens the heart, it softens the feelings that person may have, and those hard-hearted feelings that you may have, it softens that. So tahadu, tahabu, little affectionate touches and showing that affection to each other, right? This is not reducing your masculinity or reducing your manhood. And you know, it actually leads by good example to show care and concern for your wife, and vice versa as well. So this is key strategies for how, inshallah, we can build those relationships and connections with our family members and strengthen the bonds of the family. Because remember, brothers and sisters, and this is the last thing, the families make up the communities, and it's the communities that make up the ummah. The families make the communities, and the communities make up the ummah. And like I said, you can choose your friends, but you can't choose your family. Subhanallah wa bihamdik, subhanakallah wa bihamdik, ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk.